June 26, 1857, I just dropped the most controversial book in America, and the entire South wants my head in a platter. I used actual math and statistics to prove that slavery is destroying the Southern economy. The book's called The Impending Crisis of the South, and it's telling rich plantation owners that their whole system is trash. Southern states are banning it, and I'm getting death threats daily. But here's the thing. Everything I wrote is backed by cold, hard data, and that's what scares them the most. My name is Hinton R. Helper, and this is the AP US History My Story podcast. So here's how I ended up as public enemy number one in the South. I was born in North Carolina, raised around slavery, and for the longest time I just accepted it as normal. But then I started actually looking at the numbers, like really looking at them, and realized something was seriously sus about our whole economic system. I spent months compiling data from the 1850 census, and what I found was wild. The North was crushing us in every economic metric that mattered. They had more railroads, more factories, more schools, higher literacy rates, higher property values, everything except enslaved labor. And that's when it clicked. Slavery wasn't making the South rich, it was keeping the South poor. The book that I wrote wasn't some emotional plea about the morality of slavery. That's what's made it so dangerous. I came at him with straight facts. Like, did you know in 1850 the value of real and personal property in the free states was $4.1 billion, while in the slave states it was only $2.9 billion? That's with fewer people in the North. The North had 405 miles of canals and railroads per 100 square miles, while the South only had 188. We were getting absolutely bodied economically, and it was all because of slavery. But here's where it gets really spicy. I didn't just attack slavery, I went after the whole plantation aristocracy. I said that the wealthy slaveholders were parasites, keeping poor white Southerners down. Like only 25% of the Southern whites owned slaves, but that minority controlled everything. The government, the economy, the newspapers. The slaveholding class was gatekeeping all the opportunities while convincing poor whites that they were somehow superior to enslaved people. Classic manipulation. The reaction was absolutely unhinged. Southern states immediately banned my book. In Arkansas, you could get 10 years in prison for just owning it. In North Carolina, my own home state, they wanted to arrest me for incendiary publication. 3 men were actually hanged in South Carolina for just distributing it. But in the North, the book went absolutely viral. Republicans printed like 100,000 copies and distributed them as campaign material. It became their economic argument against slavery, which was honestly more effective than the moral arguments because it hit plantation owners where it hurt, their wallets. Abraham Lincoln said my book was one of the most important political documents of the decade. Okay, so let's talk about why this matters for your AP exam. Immigration was completely reshaping America in the 1850s. 2.8 million immigrants arriving in just that decade alone, mostly Irish fleeing the potato famine and Germans escaping political chaos. But here's the thing. Almost all these immigrants went north because they couldn't compete with slave labor in the South. And the North was building factories, railroads, and cities that needed workers. This created a massive demographic shift that made the North increasingly powerful while the South stayed stuck in its plantation mindset. I showed them that free labor was more productive, that education created innovation, and that the concentration of wealth in a few plantation owners' hands was destroying economic opportunity for everyone else. I said what nobody in the South wanted to hear. We were losing badly, and it was our own fault. As a follow-up, I wrote some absolutely terrible racist stuff that destroyed my legacy. I spent my last years bitter and alone, and I died by suicide in 1909, still angry that nobody appreciated my economic genius. The irony is that my statistical analysis was spot on, but my moral compass was completely broken. I understand the assignment economically, but failed the humanity test. Like, follow, and share the AP US History My Story podcast, because these stories hit different when you hear the original voices that shaped our country.